Hello everybody, James here, story time with Dutch Mantell, episode 61. Before we get to the Dutchman himself, we're going to do some plugs. I've lost the t-shirts, but we've got 2 t-shirts out. Also, I've got 2 books, Owen Hart, King of Pranks. They're over in the corner, I'm not getting up and getting them, Dutch. And Dwayne The Rock Johnson, the People's Champion, the 2 greatest biographies that I've ever written on those 2 people, and the 2 best biographies ever written on those 2 people. You can get them on Amazon. And Dutch has got 2 books as well, The World According to Dutch and Tales from a Dirt Road. Fine tomes, fine stories, available from Amazon as well. Links are in the description of this video and every video. And if you want them signed, you can go to Dirty Dutch Mantell with 2 L's at gmail.com and make your request there. Dutch is dealing with a bit of a cold, so there might be a bit of coughing. I'm finally over my food poisoning. I'm never having Chinese food again. Dutch and your cough.
It's those damn Chinese people doing it again. See, if they don't, they're taking over everything now. They're poisoning your food.
What MSG? It's that MSG. I've only ever been really sick from Chinese food, but they just put MSG in everything.
Well, what other evidence do you need that the Chinese are taking over? Yeah, I got a lot of emails, and you said you did too. I got a lot of emails like, "Where are you guys? Where are you guys?" So to set everybody's fears, that's allay. You like that word, allay? Allay. That's allay everybody's fears that we're not going anywhere. Hey, listen, rain or snow or dark of night will keep me from this podcast. But James, a little bit of food poisoning. Oh, I can't do the show. See, now who's the stronger of the two? Hey, I've gone through everything, but James can't go through a little food poisoning. He could have made the show. He just didn't want to. No, he was sick. I talked to him. But, James is a very hard worker. And how did I meet you, James?
I just wrote to you once and said you fancy coming on my main YouTube channel for an interview, and then you did a second one, and then I said, do you fancy making it a more permanent thing? And then we did.
Oh, okay. I kind of remember that, and I kind of don't. So, but anyway.
Like fungus on a shower curtain. I just crawled up your shower curtain and never really left.
Hey, do you ever see that series, The Last of Us?
No, I loved the game, the first game. Anyway, I've never seen the series.
You need to see it. Okay, for all the listeners out there, if you want to find something that's a little bit different, but scary, really, if you think about it, scary as hell. You know, a virus is one thing. You can kind of control a virus after time, but The Last of Us is a fungus that can take over your whole body. And the way they did it is pretty damn good in this series. I think it's on Netflix, maybe.
No, it was on HBO. It was HBO, I think.
HBO, it might be on HBO. But it was very good. And when we talk about our illnesses here, at least we don't have a fungus. At least I just got a virus and you just got food poisoning.
You know, it's a genuine thing. I'll get off this in a second. We've got so much news to talk about. By the way, everybody, this episode, we are just going to be talking about what's happened in wrestling in the last couple of weeks and then using that as a jumping off point. But just going back on what you said before, it is a fungus. It's a cordyceps fungus, and it's a real thing that infects ants. And what it does is it infects the host, changes the brain to essentially control, the fungus controls the host. But yeah, that's a real thing. It can't go into humans, though. But I'm sure something will develop, and I'm sure someone will stick the finger in the wrong tree, and then catch a disease.
Wait till the Chinese get it and put it in food poisoning.
Oh no, they'll just put MSG over it and kill it.
See.
Right, let's do some news. And
let's do some news.
We have the first 2 bits of news are sad bits of news. First off, the death of Tom Seigler, a name that I wasn't aware of. I heard the obituary, and apparently he worked for Ann Gunkel in the early 70s in Georgia at the same time you were working there. Is that where you met him?
Well, I knew him before that. He had worked a little bit. So he's from South Carolina. I'm from there too. I keep that as quiet as I can, of course. But I met him there on little independent shows around. And he was a bodybuilder then, and good-looking guy. He's about 6 foot, but I don't know, 220, in good shape. And he always stayed in good shape. He always did that. He played football in high school, and I don't know if he played a little college ball or not. I can't remember now. But he got into the wrestling business, and he didn't stay long, probably 5 years, maybe 6. And then he went back home, and I think he took a job in local government there and around Anderson or somewhere, wherever he was from there. And good guy. Never had much of a sense of humor, I didn't think, but if you told a joke, he'd laugh at it. But as far as him telling one, I never heard him tell a joke, but actually good in the ring. And he had some good matches. I worked with him several times. So, yeah. But
good hand.
What did he die of? Heart attack or? I
didn't even look. Let me.
He was 84, probably breathing.
In fact, why don't I just pause when I find out? Okay, so on his Wikipedia, it says Seigler died on July 25th. Oh, God, nothing's saying this at all, are they? Slam wrestling's usually good for these kinds of things. Oh, damn it. Come on, give me the damn... It's the worst YouTube radio thing in the entire world, this. I'm pausing again. Okay, so on his Facebook, his daughter shared, "This is the person I never want to make. My sweet dad passed away a few hours ago. I'm so lucky that..." No, it doesn't say. So there you go. All that time, and we don't know.
But I didn't hear of him being sick for a while or anything. I think he just, like one of those things, he may have just passed in his sleep.
Maybe.
Which is actually the best way to go.
Yep.
You go to sleep and you don't wake up.
Well,
no pain, no nothing, no family grieving over you. They get up and they get it over one time. Oh, he's dead. Oh, all right. How much money has he got? That's the way it goes. See.
Now the next death, someone who I've interviewed and very much enjoyed interviewing, someone who you worked with closely for a few years, maybe in Continental as well as Memphis, and maybe even Florida. I don't know. The death of exotic Adrian Street. We've talked about Adrian before. But this one was rather a surprise. I think he passed away maybe a week before it was announced by Linda. And it was covered by a huge amount of like mainstream media, BBC, Guardian, The Independent, that kind of thing, around here. So I suppose memories of Adrian Street.
Adrian, this is what Adrian had. He was a paradox of himself. You like that word, paradox? He was a paradox of himself. He went to the ring allegedly as a gay guy, but at the same time, he had a female with him. So when you were sitting back figuring out a fan, I wonder, is he really gay? But then you saw the girl, said, nah, he's not really gay. And he would sing songs. He sang a song about me one time. There's something strange about a cowboy. Oh, God. And what he was singing about is cowboys going out on the range, sleeping out there night after night. So what are they doing out there all that time? They're together with nobody else. So, and it was a good song. I guess you can still hear it on YouTube.
Yeah.
There's something, you ever heard that song?
I've watched it. There's a little video that goes with it as well. I think it was on Memphis TV once and someone's uploaded it.
Yes. There's something strange about a cowboy. And it was actually funny. But Adrian, he came out of the Wigan.
No, that's a misnomer. No. I asked him. Now, he didn't train at the Snake Pit, but he trained with a lot of people who did go to the Snake Pit. So he was basically Snake Pit by proxy.
Okay. But he knew what he was doing.
Oh, yeah.
So when you went in the ring, and Adrian knew that if he went in as a gay character, a lot of guys would test him because they didn't want to be in the ring with a gay guy, or they didn't want a gay guy getting the best of them. And so he had to learn to actually wrestle. He had to learn to actually shoot. And he learned that. And I've seen some guys try him, and the next thing they know, they were face down with him with a sugar hold on them. and then ask them, do they want to continue the match?
Who tried him? I'd love to know who, if you remember any.
I don't remember. I remember this one guy. I don't remember his name now. He was a younger guy, and nobody ever smartened him up. But he went in. I think he was in his hometown or something, and I don't think he wanted to sell for it. Well, Adrian made him sell. Adrian beat the shit out of him, slapped him around. He embarrassed the guy that was trying to embarrass him, and he couldn't have done it, just by punching and kicking and trying to fight him. He just took him down and wrapped him up and put the sugar on him. And a lot of people said, "What is the sugar?" Well, the sugar can yank the whole arm out of the socket if they know what they're doing. Like, what do they call that when they drop in AAA? I mean, in the shoot fighting, when they go down with the arm between their legs and pull back on it?
No, an arm bar. It's sort of like, I thought the sugar hold was some sort of combination of like a full Nelson and like a camel clutch kind of thing.
Well, it can be a lot of things, whatever anybody wants to call it, but anything when you go, and that's why they're called shooters. Because when they shoot, boom, they can really mess you up. And he was good at that, especially against somebody who had never tried it before. That was easy for him. So when he went into the ring against somebody and they didn't want to cooperate, well, I'll just have to remind you that it's in your best interest to kind of work with me here before I break your arm. And he was always very nice with it. And I think he sang a song to them before he broke their arm. He was nice about it, But Adrian it was so easy to have a match with Adrian. He did the work. If you got in the ring with Adrian, he would sashay around the ring for 3 or 4 minutes. And he'd have those people so worked up. Now, I don't think you could have a gimmick like that today as a heel. I just don't think you could have it. I think there would be so much brushback on it. And the only one who could do that would be AEW, which they're not going to do that at all. That's a very woke wrestling company. And WWE, they're woke too, but you don't ever see it on screen that much.
Well, the problem is that you couldn't have that character now as a heel. You would have to have him as a good guy, and therefore, and then the crowd would be obligated to only cheer. So then it'd just be a big old manufactured thing. Let me ask you a few more questions about Adrian. I don't think there's anybody out there, a wrestler out there, who has projected size better than Adrian. Because he was in the platform boots, stuff like that, but he was like 5'6", 5'7". He was really small, especially for the American audience, not for the British audience, because we had much lighter weight classes here. But I don't know if you agree with me, but like when he sort of got out there, got his hairs, pointed out, his shoes on and everything like that, he was 6 foot and it didn't look out of place, which I think is amazing.
He had his pigtails up, and him and Miss Adrian, Miss Linda, they would go through getting him undressed, and it was a show just watching him do that. That's before you got into the match. That's why I said that, excuse my voice, ladies and gentlemen, I almost died over the weekend here with a summer cold, which is the worst type to have anyway. But he did the show before you could stand in your corner and just stand there. That's all you had to do, because everybody was watching Adrian. They're not watching you. So let him do his show. And actually, I enjoyed the show because they would add to it, different nights they'd do this, and they might. And I think I told them to do something else one night, so they did that, and that got over. But very easy to work with, but I've heard other stories about Adrian when he would get mad, he would really mess some guys up. He wouldn't hurt them as far as no return, but he would hurt them well enough that they know if the next time they tried it, he just had to go a little farther with it, they'd break their arm.
A couple more things about Adrian. And like,
so I started taking a gun in the ring with me when I wrestled Adrian.
That's what you kept under your hat.
It's that English stuff, and you can't trust the Englishmen. You got to watch them.
Like Andre, I've written it. It's sort of like a special attraction, Adrian, because it's one of those things where, like Abby or Bruiser Brody or Andre the Giant, that he couldn't be one place for too long because it was a big old shock value when he was there, and it's sort of the law of diminishing returns. And I imagine that Adrian was rather well aware of this as well. So sometimes he'd come into Memphis for just a weekend, just from somewhere else, just to keep his name out there, and then go back to where he was, and then he'd move to. I mean, I think he went to Calgary first, and he went to Los Angeles. His runs were always very short.
He came to Memphis and he stayed, I don't know, almost a year, I think. Mm-hmm. But that was the type of. So you couldn't bring Andre in to stay a year. He'd be so. People would get tired of him in 2 weeks. They've already seen what Andre can do. Abdullah, they can see, unless now Abdullah stayed a while in Canada, but he could still move then. And even Brody would go in Texas and he would stay there 6 months or do something like that. But those big guys, those big monsters, once they come through, there's no really telling a story with them, really, because they're so big and they're so powerful. If they didn't just smash everybody they were against, the answers would go, yeah, unless you had another big monster you brought them in against. Then, of course, now it's a clash of the monsters. But Adrian wasn't like that. Adrian could come in. He could do interviews. He'd sing. He'd dance. He'd talk about his opponents, and he would kiss them sometimes in the ring. And it's too much.
Not on the ring.
But
not on the ring, in the ring.
Oh, in the ring. Not out of the ring. I don't think, but
it doesn't matter.
But Adrian's private life, when he left the arena, he was gone. You never ran into him anywhere else. You may have passed him on the road, or he passed you on the road going to a town or a shot. But if you went out to a bar, and you would never see Adrian in a bar ever. Hell, I never even saw him at a grocery store. So I don't know, but he kept to himself mostly.
I'll just show this before we move on. I got him to send me one of his figures. I'll show this to you first, Dutch.
Okay.
And there you go. And whoops.
Hang on 1 second.
Dog's barking, and he signed it to me as well. So we'll move on, but the dog's barking, so we're pausing. Okay, the delivery guy's gone now. The dog's calmed down. Next thing we're going to talk about is Dark Side of the Ring. We were going to do an episode review. I watched half of it. You watched none of it. So we can't really do a full review of it. But the crux of the matter is, and you didn't really seem to know very much about Devon Nicholson, Hannibal, aside from when I think you did an interview with him a good few years ago now. But he has claimed for many years and successfully sued Abdullah the Butcher for giving him hepatitis C. And he basically starts off this Dark Side of the Ring saying that he wishes Abdullah dies a slow, painful death. And I was like, seems a little bit out of, a bit of disparity between sort of stuff there, pal.
So he claims he caught hepatitis C from Abdullah. He told me the same thing. Mm-hmm. I did an interview with him, I don't know, 5 years ago, I guess. And I forgot. I was still living in Nashville then. And he came to Nashville, said he was working his way down south to interview a bunch of other guys. And, but he said he caught it from Abdullah in Puerto Rico, which is easy to believe, because Puerto Rico was Blood City. But I'm thinking, he's not the only one that he was in the ring with, bleeding. And I heard nothing of Abdullah ever having hepatitis C, ever. And if that is true, I wonder why Carlos Colon doesn't have it. I don't know. So if he did, but he sued him and he won $2.2 million. Right? That's what he was awarded.
Yeah, he didn't get a penny of it though, because Abdullah, I think, put either shut his restaurant down or just put the restaurant and all his property into his wife's name, and Hannibal didn't get any of it.
Yeah, he won the suit, but anyway. But Hannibal, I'm learning now. You're telling me that he's been involved in a bunch of other legal happenings. Yes or no?
Yes. Before we get to that, I've got quite a list here. But before we get to this, I want to bring up the fact that he blames... okay, two things, actually. One, Hannibal, as we can see online from previous matches, is that he was doing quite a lot of tours of Puerto Rico at the time where there is a lot of blood. And I suspect that he was bleeding more than once. I don't know that for sure, but I... relatively safe, because it's Blood City, to come to that conclusion. So I don't quite know how it's come to that bit where it's definitely Abdullah the Butcher who gave him Hep C. Similarly, he blames Abdullah the Butcher for not getting a contract with WWE, and he definitely would have been a WWE megastar if it wasn't for Abdullah the Butcher and the hepatitis C. Now, what's interesting about that is about 2012 or 13, this is off the top of my head, I don't know. It was quite a few years ago. He was, apparently, according to him, was given some experimental treatment that functionally cured him of hepatitis C. And if this happened, let's say, 10 years ago, he would have been about 30, around that age. Which means that he would have been in prime position to be hired by WWE because they like people that age and they like people who are seasoned and whatnot. Yet, WWE still didn't hire this amazing wrestler, in his mind only, because he's got a horrible, horrible track record. He's got a terrible reputation in the business, to the point that he had to start his own little independent wrestling thing up north in Canada, and then book like a wrestling legend to come down to wrestle him, and then he would beat them in the main event, just so he could say, I beat Lanny Poffo, I've beat Greg Valentine. And there's been many issues that have arisen from there. Firstly, let's get to the whole WWE thing. He's did many tryouts. As far as we can tell, he was never actually turned down for a WWE... Well, he may have been turned down for a WWE developmental contract to go to Heartland Wrestling Association or whatever over the hepatitis C. That maybe. But after he was functionally cured and in his physical prime and the right age and everything, WWE never came a-calling. Impact never came a-calling. AEW's never come a-calling. Ring of Honor never came a-calling. MLW never came a-calling. So he's just basically decided to blame Abdullah the Butcher for all his personal failings and the fact that he's not actually that great of a wrestler apart from in his own mind. I can get to more legal stuff if you want, but I've said a lot there if you want to digest it.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with that. But Hannibal, from what I've seen, and I've only met him one time, so you can gather only so much in a one-time meeting. But what I did notice that if he was very reserved in speaking to be a wrestler. I mean, he spoke in a monotone, and he would say, you know, he wouldn't go up and he wouldn't go down. And he was talking to me, and I was going, I mean, it's a constant level that you'd have to listen to him.
It's probably because he finds talking and breathing at the same time difficult.
I can't believe you said that.
Oh, okay.
You are so mean. You're so mean.
He's a dick. Apparently, it's just he's a dick. Right. So, I already teed you up that I was going to do quite a lot of talking on this one. Right. So apparently he had some issue with me. I don't know what it was because I don't.
Okay. Wait a minute. The last podcast we did.
Yeah.
You said the same thing about Vince Russo.
No. Vince Russo's never had an issue with me, as far as I can tell.
No, but you said he was a butthole.
No, I said that he was privileged and to be in the position he was in, and he shouldn't be complaining publicly to get sympathy.
Oh, okay.
So
this is entirely different.
No, apparently Hannibal had some problem with me because I posted some video with, and this actually goes to the first thing I was going to mention. Lanny Poffo, the very first person I ever interviewed, he said something to the effect of, when he was doing some worked shoot sort of angle where he slaps Hannibal in the locker room and then Hannibal puts him in a Kimura. And the first thing Lanny said was, God, I thought it was meant to be, a work, and then it almost turned into a shoot because he was really slapping that thing on. And then he apparently worked for him another time. And according to Lanny, Hannibal or one of the other people who worked for him filmed him while he was naked in the shower and then posted it online.
Who filmed who?
Well, Lanny was filmed.
Oh.
And someone in that circle, whether it was Hannibal or someone else, actually filmed him without his permission, obviously, and then posted it to like the Facebook or something, which is weird. Criminal.
I never heard that.
No. There's been various accounts of stuff that I won't repeat, but the referee thing, I refreshed your memory because we talked about this. No, we didn't talk about this, did we? This is before we did a podcast, where he stabbed a referee constantly in the head. Apparently, he was meant to zip him once because the referee said he was a bleeder and he would take the blade. And instead, this Hannibal character was wearing a mask and then stabbed him 20 times in the head with a razor blade to the point that they had to shave his head, sew up his head with dozens of stitches, and he's scarred for life. And Hannibal's explanation, or Devon's explanation, was, oh, well, I couldn't see through the mask. So you must have been able to feel the razor blade slicing his head open again and again and again, and the blood dripping down your hands. You must have probably, you know what I mean? It's just another excuse that doesn't wash. You're just a maniac.
I remember this. Hannibal, and I saw you showed me a picture of the referee's head after it was over and completed. The referee had hair going in.
Yeah.
But the picture you showed me was he was bald, so he had to cut his whole hair, and then they had to stitch it up. And he had like 10 or 12 stab wounds or cut wounds on his head. So that's not a mistake. That's just pure negligence or meanness or something. And I don't know. First of all, you gotta check the sanity of the referee, who would tell anybody, oh yeah, just cut me. What? I'm not going to tell anybody to cut me. I wouldn't even tell my daughter to cut me. Somebody I would trust. But oh no, you're gonna trust a crazy wrestler that you don't even know. And he went in there and he messed the guy up. But no legal charges were filed.
Amazing how he never got arrested, or like maybe just won't ever go to Texas again. I don't know. I don't know what the score is there. But he then committed, allegedly, our favourite word. Well, it was all posted. We did refer to this, that he was arrested for assaulting his girlfriend or some girl or manageress or valet or whatever that he was hanging around with at the time. And we don't even know, like at this point, still if he's still. If that crime is being prosecuted or if it's been dropped or what at this point.
So let me ask you, what is he doing now? He's still doing his podcast?
I believe he is. In fact, I know he is because a few days ago I posted, when Adrian Street died, I posted a nice tribute, and then I wanted to see if anyone else had. So I Googled it and only he had done one, and I watched it for about a minute. And like, this is meant to be a tribute to a wrestler. I actually burst out laughing because it was so bad. He's like, oh, this window licking foot knuckle. Sorry, Boris. It's just a fucking mouth breathing knuckle dragging.
That is actually funny. I shouldn't laugh at that.
But I mean, he's just a clown. He's just a knobsock. This a
knobs. To all the Americans we have listening, a knob sock. We don't know what that is.
It's
What's
a sock
that mean?
you put your cock in.
Oh my God!
So anyway,
ladies and gentlemen, I have advertised this podcast as pretty clean. To James starts talking, then it dropped down into the R category. Now I got to bring it back up. Okay, a knob sock. Go ahead.
Okay, he's also the worst interviewer on YouTube.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He is. Anyway, there you go. I mean, I've said my piece on him, but I wouldn't have mentioned anything. But apparently, he put out somewhere. There's like this. I don't even know what he said. I just know it's something negative towards me. But the problem is like intellectually speaking, he's bringing a potato to a gunfight here with his smooth brain, and you can't I'm sure can't process anything beyond 2 syllables. So yeah, fuck you. Anyway,
are you attacking his intelligence level?
I think his actions have over the past whatever decades, I'm sure, has just attacked. It doesn't need attacking. It's playing for all to see.
Okay,
you love this, Dutch. You love it.
I do love it.
You really, like a bit of controversy, right? I don't know how much you've seen of Gable Steveson's recent antics in WWE. He had a match, his debut match, Great American Bash NXT. Fans were already chanting for Baron Corbin. Anyway, so it was Gable Steveson versus Baron Corbin debut match. And to be honest, Gable Stevenson's already having a bit of a hard time of it as well at the moment. He's been doing a fair bit of training on and off with WWE. Report came out last year that he wasn't advancing as quickly as WWE were hoping for. And then they have this match. I watched it. I watched it from beginning to end. It was okay. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't terrible. I think some people have been saying it's really terrible, but the audience got on him straight away. They started chanting for Baron Corbin, who, keep in mind, is like now in NXT, one of the biggest stars. He's had a character refresh. People are finally getting back into him after years of not really enjoying the character. And then Gable starts doing a bit of a Kurt Angle impression, doing an ankle lock, and then the fans start chanting, "You're not Angle, you're not Angle." And then Booker T says, "Shucky ducky quack quack." And then it ends in a double count out, which also angered the fans. Gable Steveson, what have you seen with him recently, like promo-wise and wrestler-wise? Anything?
I've seen him once or twice, not that much. But this is all good for him. Because if the people are responding to him, he's touched the nerve somewhere. And if they're even mentioning his name with Kurt Angle, that is great. Because all WWE will go out and say, "Listen, Kurt, come back and help this guy for a month, 2 months. Just show up at TV and just do some stuff with him. And then we'll put you on some of the pay-per-views and just to help get him over." And Kurt Angle could get him over just by being in his corner. The kid would get over just by being around Kurt Angle. And Corbin, by the same token, I think most of those NX fans are super, super smart fans anyway. And they've known the trouble he's gone through. And they're kind of respecting him for that. What is his new gimmick? Is it the same gimmick but amped up or what?
It's just plain old Baron Corbin in trousers and a new entrance music. He's basically just ditched that Hawaiian shirt and hat, and I think he's just been plain old Baron Corbin.
Well, I liked him better when he was old Baron Corbin. Yeah, I liked the idea when he went broke, lost all his money or whatever. They took his truck. I like that. Because now here's a guy that can't go no lower. Oh, my God, what am I going to do? People love that. And they wanted him to bounce back, but he bounced back in a way that I didn't understand it. So if I can't understand it, I don't think the regular fans can understand it. I don't think. But I think this is a win-win for Baron and the Gableson kid. What's his name?
Gable Steveson.
Stevenson.
No, it's not even Stevenson, it's Steveson without an N.
Steveson.
Yes.
No N.
No N.
Steveson. Now he's on the Olympic team, right?
Yeah, well, apparently he's I don't think he's now going for a second Olympic gold now. I think he's dedicating his career to WWE, it seems. I want to pick up on something that you said just beforehand. If Kurt Angle is with him, then that will just instantly, the rub that will happen. But the fact is that Kurt Angle, when he debuted, I think he honestly thought he was going to be a babyface because he was an Olympic gold medalist. Now, Gable Steveson is also an Olympic gold medalist. It is actually a more accomplished amateur wrestler than Kurt was, and is one of the, probably one of the all-time greats. But it's the same sort of thing with him, just the fans have immediately started rejecting him. But the thing with Gable and Kurt is that Kurt had a lot of natural charisma, whereas Gable seems to be a bit of a pothole of charisma. He seems to be anti-charismatic at this point.
Well, I think you got to pump that into him. And I'm sure he can act stupid. Like, Kurt was so entertaining. And, you didn't know what he was going to say. And if he can find the right writer and the right delivery, he's got it. And Kurt did it. I don't know how much he did that on his own, but he had a writer too, because Kurt was over. And I think it's a win-win for Kurt and the Steveson kid if somehow you just put them together just to get him over. So I think they got 3 wins on their hands right there in one match.
With
you never hear me say that.
No. With that being said, I want to also bring up this. I didn't realize this until a couple of days ago when I must have been on Reddit or something and people started saying stuff about him. When he was 19, he was accused by a lady of sexual assault. It was basically a he said, she said, he said, because there was a second fella involved. And it's one of those things where I think she was inebriated, woke up the next morning, sort of figured out what happened, and she made a complaint to the police. The police and the university suspended him from all, I don't know if you suspended him from school or just sports, but essentially the police declined to prosecute, citing lack of evidence and just no realistic hope of getting a conviction. And then he ends up, being reinstated in school, and then he goes to win a gold medal.
What school was this?
Whatever university he went to.
You don't know?
No, I don't know.
First of all, I think that's just because somebody is accused doesn't mean they're guilty. And for the university to yank the scholarship or whatever they did or kick him off the team, I think he's got a lawsuit there, really. Tell you the truth.
Well, he was reinstated. I looked into this as well. The school, I'm sorry, I can't remember what the school was called. They actually suspended permanently, I think, like 5 student athletes that year over similar claims. So it's not really like that the school has a track record of ignoring these kinds of things. It just seemed to be unprosecutable, essentially, for the lack of evidence. And maybe
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they suspended them before they were convicted. Mm. And I know that's kind of, you can't keep a guy on your team and he's accused of all these charges. I get that. But yet, it could have been the girl just talking. And I'm not saying he didn't do it. I hope he didn't do it, because I hate any sexual charges like that, rape, because it's one word of the girl and she may be telling the truth, or she could just be mad at him and went down there and took out a charge on him just to cause him trouble. Mm-hmm. And that's the type of trouble that is charged when a guy is charged with that. That don't go away in 2 weeks.
Exactly, it sticks, and that's the point I'm trying to make, is that some people, regardless of, despite the fact that there was no prosecution, he was never charged with the crime. They can always say, now, you were arrested for a rape charge, a sexual battery charge. And he can say, yeah, I was. That right there says that, well, I didn't rape her, or you raped her, but it wasn't. See, there's an edge on that you just can't get rid of. He's got it for the rest of his life. Is it? Do you think it's something that can, for the most part, be overcome? Because there's just going to be a certain segment of fans that will absolutely believe he's guilty and never forgive him for it. And is it going to be a bad luck for WWE in the long term?
No, I don't think so. Because people forget that. They really do. But it's still there. Mm-hmm. Say, if he went to get a job, let's say that, out of WWE, and they look at this and they research him, and some of these companies, they do extensive background researches. And it says he was arrested one time for a sexual battery charge or a rape charge. Well, that's concerning right off the bat. So if they hire him, if he has another one, that company's going to shell out big bucks. So then they won't take a chance on him. A lot of them won't. So I'm saying, I'll say again, a charge like that never leaves. Convicted or not, you're stuck with it.
We are going to move on. Triple H has called AEW a secondary promotion, and something I've not really done for a while here. I'm going to actually play the quote. It's from a Cody Rhodes WWE Network documentary that's just come out, so I'm going to find the video and I'll pause and I'll bring it back up. Okay, we're back now. For the video, I've actually taken out the video. I've just put in some screen grabs instead. So if you're wondering why his lip's not moving, that's it. So we'll listen to the clip. It's 49 seconds. We're really looking out for Triple H's comments at the end, though.
I can't tell you why I left AEW. I can't, and I won't. But I'll tell you the reasons that were said that didn't actually matter. I didn't leave AEW because of money, and I didn't leave AEW because of other talents. I left AEW because of a personal issue.
That he won't talk about.
That's it. But the byproduct of leaving AEW is the opportunity to go for the biggest dream I ever had and the first dream that I had in my life.
To then take that gamble again and say, this is not what I wanted to be. I didn't grow up dreaming of being the champion or the face of a secondary promotion. I wanted to be the WWE champion. So,
the comment there is that he isn't in it to be, or Triple H's words are that AEW is a secondary promotion, and essentially Cody wasn't in it to win a secondary belt. He, his dream was a WWE championship. Is AEW a secondary promotion?
Well, if you only got two promotions, one of them would have to be secondary. One of them would have to be the leader or better than the other one. And I would think since WWE's been in business for 60 or 70 years or whatever, and AEW, they've been in business 4 years, which I respect that. But yeah, I think AEW at this point, and I think even Tony Khan would tell you that. Yeah, they're not at the WWE level yet. They're not. And will they ever be? I don't know. But they at least, and I may have said this the last time we did a podcast, at least AEW got more out of WWE than TNA ever got. TNA was never mentioned on WWE television. And what Triple H did for AEW, he acknowledged their existence. And I doubt if there's many wrestling fans out there that don't know this, but by them just getting mentioned means that they're on the radar, which was more than TNA ever was. Even though it was on the radar, they never publicly acknowledged that they watched TNA. And you know who watched TNA and WWE?
Go on.
Vince watched it half the time.
No.
And then the other times he didn't watch it, he would have somebody watch it for him and give him a report. What they're doing, who should we look out for, what do you think? But Vince kept track of what TNA is doing, and people are keeping track of what AEW is doing. It's not falling under the radar, AEW. They know they're there. Now, this is great for talent because Tony Khan has some money. And with this London show, it's going to make a $10 million gate. Plus it's on pay-per-view. So that's probably the biggest win that AEW will ever have. Are you going to that show?
No. I'm not having a 350-mile round trip and a stay over in London. I can't be bothered.
You're gonna take it on pay-per-view?
No.
You're not?
No.
How you going to talk about this on the air?
I just pretend I know what I'm talking about, like I always do.
Yeah, just read a bunch of stuff on it and just take their thoughts of it and make it your own.
I don't know. I might watch it, but I don't think I'm going to go. No.
I wouldn't want to get caught in 70,000 people.
Yeah.
Plus, they're drunk.
Plus, like if I drove there, London's got a congestion charge, and it's really expensive. So just to drive your car there is going to be the equivalent of $35 just to get into the centre of London. It's so expensive.
They don't charge you anything to get out?
No. They should make some money that way.
No, that's an old joke about wrestling. Let them in free and charge them to get out. And then you could really have some and they only stay a match. Nope. You only want to give me 10. It's going to be $20 before you can leave. And then the longer you wait, the higher the cost of getting out. See, because now you took up our time, you took up our resources, our effort. So it's going to cost you some money. So, but Cody, I was looking at Cody and Cody, see, this story was written. I think Cody has to be in good with Vince because Vince liked Dusty. And when and Cody was there before, he didn't much do anything because he was working with me and Swagger, so he wasn't doing too much. But Vince liked him. Now the story of Cody having hard times. See, Cody's whole push is off his daddy. That's as privileged as you can get. Really. And I never understood privilege till I started watching or understood it really. But you start watching wrestling, then you see Cody Rhodes, and who was his daddy? Dusty Rhodes. Shane McMahon. Oh, who's his daddy? Vince McMahon. Oh, the Samoans. Who are their daddy? Oh, Afa and Sika. You start watching that, and you'll see how this I guess the legacy,
the legacy.
Well, yeah, but the legacy of the younger wrestlers coming up because their father was in it, and that's how sometimes it doesn't matter. I have seen some guys' sons get into wrestling, and they were just completely terrible. Awful. The worst wrestler I ever saw was a promoter's son in Tennessee, George Goulas.
Mm-hmm.
Undoubtedly the worst wrestler God ever created. Oh my God, he was terrible. And they've been a few. Eddie Graham's son, Mike, which I think Dark Side of the Ring, they just did an episode on the Grahams. Mike was good in the ring, but couldn't draw any money. He was he wasn't big either. He was only weighed about 200 pounds, really. And he wasn't 6 foot. He was maybe 5'9", but he wasn't big enough. And he was so small, and his offense was not that impressive, so never made it. But
well, let me ask you, or let me read this to you. Tony Khan responded to Triple H's suggestion that AEW was a secondary promotion. He did bring up the Wembley thing beforehand. Tony said, "We certainly won't be the secondary promotion at All In," which thinks the Wembley show. They've named one pay-per-view All In and one's All Out. I can't remember which one's which. Anyway, Khan said, "We're number one in the UK and on TV and with a record gate." Now, that's very important. I'll bring that back in a second. I have a lot of respect for Cody. I know these weren't his words, to be fair, but we're not secondary in a lot of markets. For the first time in a long time, WWE has been secondary in a lot of markets. I'm proud of where we're at, and we're not taking a backseat to anybody. Now, let me explain. He specifically said, we're number one in the UK on TV. That's true. Do you know why?
They own the different channel.
Yes.
Stronger channel. TNA was too.
Yeah.
TNA, same thing.
Yeah.
They had a stronger channel.
Exactly. So, TNA was outdrawing WWE in the UK. But the fact is that, and I've got a funny tidbit for you in a second as well, is AEW draws, I think they actually drew one of their best viewerships for Dynamite ever, 139,000. And this is on a free-to-air, available to everybody channel for everyone who's got Freeview, which is it's basically free TV. And also, these aren't live. They're replays. They're shown a couple of days after the fact. So they're in a better time slot, maybe, I don't know, 9 o'clock or something. I can't remember. So they're in a better time slot for a first-run TV show. WWE, is their first-run programming is live at 1 a.m., so how many people are going to be staying up watching it? And they're also on a channel formerly called BT. Yes, Dutch?
I watch it at 1 a.m. in the morning. That's actually when I'm getting going.
Yeah.
I sleep all day and get up, and nighttime is when I move around. So 1 a.m. is like, for normal people, it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like 12 hours behind.
With for normal people, 1 a.m.'s tired, sleepy time.
Yeah.
Anyway, so their first run is 1 a.m. that barely anyone's going to be watching. Most people will record it, and therefore it won't count in the live viewership. It's on a channel formerly called BT Sports, which is a premium Sky cable. It's not on Sky, but it is on Sky, but it's a cable channel essentially. It's like HBO or something like that. And it's especially expensive if you have Sky, not as cheap as if you got Virgin Media, which I do. And also BT, just as a little irony, has now been renamed TNT Sports because Warner Media has just bought it. So WWE in this country is shown on a Warner Media channel, which AEW works with in the States, which is a bit weird as well.
Yeah, but see, it still gives them the rights to claim they're number one in the UK.
Yeah, but it needs one giant asterisk next to it. It's apples and oranges.
Yes, but that's only for the ones picking it and studying it like you, not me. Guess what? I care about that.
Zero.
Less than zero. Hey, did you read about all the problems Trump is having?
I'm glad you mentioned it. The Vince McMahon thing's coming. Do you want to start the Trump thing first, or shall we read the Vince McMahon thing?
Read the Vince McMahon thing.
Okay, WWE in their own quarterly SEC filings just been made public, made the following admission. On July 17, 2023, federal law enforcement agents executed a search warrant and served a federal grand jury subpoena on Mr. McMahon. No charges have been brought in these investigations. The company has received voluntary and compulsory legal demands for documents, including the federal law enforcement and regulatory agencies concerning the investigation and related subject matters. So Vince McMahon and Donald Trump getting their houses knocked on and handed subpoenas and search warrants as of recent.
Well, for people in the U.S. that are listening to this, none of us, worldwide, have ever seen anything like this, unless it was in a third world country or something. But if you look at it, and I do believe it's politically motivated more than anything else, there's a lot of presidents who left who have done a lot of crimes probably, but nobody ever saw fit to go and try to convict them on something. We're not going to get into that, but it was surprising to me to see Vince McMahon and Donald Trump mentioned in the same article. They looked at some of Vince's stuff. Of course, we know what they did at Trump's place. So now they're looking at everybody who had any connection with Donald Trump, which brings up this. At WrestleMania 29 in New Jersey, Donald Trump came up to me, shook my hand, said, I heard your interview. Tremendous. He says everything twice. And then he walked away. Now I wonder if I will be investigated by the federal authorities.
You're in Florida. Mar-a-Lago's not that far away. This is a short trip.
Yeah, that's another thing that I moved to Florida. Yes. And was that because of anything to do with Donald Trump? So if you hear anything about me being investigated, just I'm just caught up in this political persecution, and I'm the same as all the rest of them. They're after me because of my association with Donald Trump. And my association only lasted 20 seconds, maybe. But yet, a lot of information could pass in those 20 seconds.
Mm-hmm. A lot of documents can change hands. One handshake, you never know.
Well, I could have had a secret signal like this, like, who knows?
And that meant invade the White House.
I don't know what that meant, but they can make it. Actually, they can make it mean anything they wanted to make it mean. Said, we know what that means, and then they can say, you did that. We got it on. Everything is recorded in that stadium. There's cameras everywhere, so I'm sure there's some video of me talking to Donald Trump.
With that being said, we're going to go back to Vince, and we are presuming, I don't know if it's actually been confirmed, but we're presuming it's related to the non-disclosure agreements, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it's something other business-wise. As we're recording this, we don't actually know why he was served a subpoena. It doesn't actually say in the quote. And I don't know if it's also a coincidence or not, but I thought it was a bit of a funny coincidence that as soon as the federal government gets involved in Vince McMahon's private life, he's scheduling a major surgery. So originally, when he was on trial for the steroid scandal in like '94, he purposely, we believe, scheduled neck surgery. So he turned up and sat on the stand with a big neck collar, for the sympathy factor. And then we've just found out that the feds have invaded his house and served him subpoenas, and he's just had a 4-hour-plus major back surgery as well.
Okay, what were these subpoenas for?
No, that's what we don't know. It just said serve with subpoenas, but I don't think it explains why.
I guarantee you, I'm not going to guarantee you, but, Donald likes women. So let's just let it wander a minute.
He likes non-disclosure agreements as well. Didn't he get Stormy Daniels to sign one? Or did he not? Yeah.
So what I'm thinking right now is that Vince gets Donald on the down low, and Vince he tells him, "Hey, I like so and so, one of your girl wrestlers." And then Vince says, "You want to meet her?" Well, yeah, it'd be great. Then all of a sudden, they get together. So, and he's Donald Trump. So, and they may have signed a few non-disclosures.
It could have been.
I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's happening. I'm not mentioning any names. I'm just throwing it out there for public consumption. So, and this was around 2013, 10 years ago. So who knows? I'm just throwing it. Okay, when I throw that at you, what are you thinking? Possible? Conceivable?
Conceivable. I'm thinking, like, after the fact, Vince will go, "How was it, pal? Tremendous.
Oh, tremendous. Great. Oh, my God. Now, see, why did you say that? That's horrible.
I never said that. You said it. You put it in my mind.
No. Oh, I did put it in your mind, so.
We'll move on.
But that is conceivable, though, right?
Oh, yeah. I just wrote this as well. I forgot about this. If he ends up, for whatever reason, going back to federal court, I think it's going to be an issue that now he looks like a sort of Prohibition-era, vaudeville-style, evil sort of gangster boss now. So maybe he needs he needs to wash out that dye, shave that mustache, look a bit more clean cut.
God, he looks like he's shit. No, I'll take that back. He looks worse than shit. That little, look, this is a mustache. This is what he's got there, that little thin line. That is horrible. That hadn't been in since Humphrey Bogart days.
I can't believe
which is 100 years ago.
Yeah, like a woman would say, "Do you know what I think would really look good on you? A Spiv style, pencil thin mustache and chestnut brown hair dye."
Talking about me?
No, not you, Vince.
Vince.
No,
A spill. Oh, yeah, he would look like, what's that guy's name? I can't remember his name now. Because I can't remember anybody's
Errol
name
Flynn, I bet you're thinking of. Because he have one of them.
He had a thin ones too. And,
but it looks like
few more.
It looks like a Dirty Sanchez kind of affair on Vince.
Well, you see how you are. You talk about everybody. Nobody is sacred to you, James. See, I have a few sacricities in my life. You like that word? I just made that up. Sacricities. But nobody is sacred to you.
Oh, no. Vince isn't sacred to you. Don't give me that.
I didn't say that. I said, but some people are.
We are going to move on. And I wanted to talk to you. I've actually listed two things as Kayfabe 1 and Kayfabe 2. And the first Kayfabe story, I am actually going to show you a video, and it's of Kota Ibushi. So bear with me 1 second. I'll tee it up. Right, so we're back, and sorry for the audio listeners. I'm going to describe after the fact what we're seeing. Do you know what we're about to see, Dutch?
I think I do. I think I saw this.
Okay, so I'm going to play it first, and I'll explain for the audio listeners. And I'm going to cough and talk all that. I'm sorry, I've got an overlay on this as well, because it's quite...
I remember now.
Yeah. There we go.
What's his name?
Kota Ibushi. So Kota Ibushi has... I'm going to actually pause that there now. So Kota Ibushi has done a back bump into thumbtacks. Now, this was at the recent AEW Dynamite's Blood and Guts special, and they had, lots of weapons and all that kind of thing. And after the match, after the cameras were shut off, but that was shot by a fan, Kota Ibushi, in front of the fan still remaining there, decides to do a back bump into the thumbtacks on the ring, and then he gets up like nothing happens and struts off and points at himself. Your reaction?
I don't know why he would do that, to tell you the truth. I was talking one day. So this is what this tells me. Apparently, these thumbtacks don't hurt. Apparently. Because I asked one day, somebody wanted me to do a thumbtack match. I said, get the F out of here. I'm not doing a thumbtack match. I'm not doing that match. Hey, I could get hurt. And to me, I don't want anything sharp entering my body at any point. I don't care what it is. Anything. So, but I have heard, thumbtacks don't hurt. A lot of guys have told me that when you spread them out, said they don't hurt. I said, I don't know how they could not hurt. But even after them assuring me that it didn't hurt, I'm still not going to do it. But for this Ibushi, or whatever his name was, to throw tacks behind him and land on them, that just tells the fans in attendance, well, it doesn't hurt. It's special tacks or something. Most fans would think that it would hurt. Most fans would. And I don't think most fans would say, let's try that, see if we can do that. But I don't think many of them would do that either. But I don't even know why he did it. There was no rhyme or reason for him to do that. And he had a lot of tacks in his back, by the way, when he got up.
Mm-hmm. There's very few things that I think wrestling fans can believe in 2023. But you know what? One thing that I thought would really hurt and I would really believe in is if someone rolled around in a bunch of push pins, and I would think, man, that really, really hurts. And now that's one of the few things left in wrestling that you now can't hang your hat on because apparently it doesn't hurt at all.
Yeah, they took that out of the lineup quick. And it just took one move. And I don't know why he did it. Now, the cameras were off. Yeah, but everybody has a phone camera, so it's everywhere. It's probably more people seeing it there than would have seen it on the show. A lot more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Is it just an ego thing?
I guess he's going to show people, hey, I'm tough. I can take this. Boom.
Why don't you take it in the match then? At least, add to the match instead of detracting from it.
I guarantee you when he went to the back, nobody said anything to him about it. Because I don't know. Don't get me going. Go ahead.
Well, the podcast is all about getting you going. But anyway, we're going to move on to Kayfabe 2 I've listed on this. I'm going to show this to the main camera first. Now, if you can read that, and now I'm going to show this to you. Can you read that for me, Dutch?
They fighting for real.
Yeah. Now I'm going to bring it back a little bit and show you the footage. So this is Braun Breaker, and I can't remember the other guy's name. And it says, you're fighting for real. So it seemed like it was I've turned it off now. There's a spot on NXT recently where it seemed like, you know, it was trying to get out of hand, and then Braun Breaker sort of sweeps him and hits him a couple of times, and then they move on. Do you know what account that was on? That Instagram account?
No.
The official WWE NXT Instagram account has written on some of their own wrestling, they fighting for real. So what are they doing on all the other clips that you post?
Yeah. So, but I think in this, I've heard people say this. Now, some of that is fake. Some of that is set up, but I saw this one match one time. They were fighting for real. I've heard that 100 times. They were really, really mad at each other because I thought these two guys, and that's the vibe you put off. If you can convince people you're mad and the other guy can convince people that he's mad at you, that's the point of it. So, and Von Breaker, that's Rick Steiner's son.
Yeah.
Got a great career ahead of him. He does. So, again, another privileged guy. Because his uncle and his father went through it. And since he was a little bitty boy, he wanted to be a wrestler. Like Cody was talking, I wanted to be a wrestler when I grew up because of my daddy. And so, but I think this guy make it work. Cody made it work. You know, a lot of guys make it work. But I don't place as much on that Instagram posting they had. I think, you know, I think they're just kind of saying that, yeah, some of it might be a little set up. They won't ever use the word fake. Some of it might be a little set up, but not that. They were mad at each other. They were fighting for real.
I'm going to ask you this then. Talk to me about what you think kayfabe should be in 2023 in our threads and Twitter and Facebook world. It doesn't exist anymore, really, because people are watching it for the entertainment value. And when the entertainment value, when they first released it, a lot of this is set up, is because Vince was so cheap back in those days because he wasn't making anywhere near the money he made later on. But he was just running house shows and still paying to show his show on TV. So he went to all these wrestling commissions and he's trying to tell them, no, this should not be governed or legislated like it's a real sport, because it's not. It's entertainment. It's theater. It's a show. And they fought him tooth and nail over that because they were taking in money on it. Because I've been in some of those New Jersey shows and New York shows and Pennsylvania shows. They would send the commission over and they would sit out there at the table like they were really somebody special. And you'd go up and they'd have to take your blood pressure and your heartbeat and your this and your that. And for nothing other than show. You know, as everybody knows, I'm a very hairy type guy. I was in a show in New Jersey one time, and they're going to put those things on me all over you. Well, like an EKG kind of thing.
EKG. And they couldn't find a spot to where they could hook it up. They kept it. And the guy said, well, I can't hook it up anywhere, but we have to do this. So I says, well, what are we going to do? He said, well, you're either going to take it we're going to have to get that hair out of the way for you, because without this, you can't wrestle tonight. That means I can't work. So I took some clippers, and clipped here, and I clipped there, and I clipped about 6 little spots to where it would fit. Then they took it and still didn't get anything. But now I'd already cut my hair. So they said, okay. I don't remember whether I worked. I don't even think I worked that night. Excuse me. So I went to the ring the next night looking like Connect-a-Dot. Oh, it was terrible. And it took a while for that hair to grow back out. But these sports commissions, I never had a lot of respect for them anyway. And I think that's when kayfabe first started leaving the realm of believability. But now if they do find a match that meets that will get people's attention. And you know who has gotten the people's attention by that really brutal style? Mm-hmm. Gunther. Mm-hmm. Gunther has grabbed them and saying, these guys beat the living crap out of each other, which is a spectacle in itself. Just because you're not hitting them in the throat and hitting them in the face, when they come across that chest, they found an area now that is acceptable. So when they see 2 guys doing that, throwing the punches don't really mean that much anymore. It's the chops. And they can hear them. I mean, they can hear them sometimes in the upper reaches of an arena. And when you hear that, you know that chop has to go in. So, but I don't think that has done any type of damage. I think it's kind of helped it. The chops have kind of helped it, and they fighting for real. I don't think it does any damage. I don't think anybody pays any attention to it anymore.
I'm going to mention this then. So I interviewed Al Snow recently, and he gave an eloquent response on what kayfabe is and isn't in this day and age and in the past. And as we know, pro wrestling has been basically admitted as being a work, or at least reported as such, since like the 1880s. I think they found like some French news clippings or something talking about it.
Hey, listen, wrestling, ever since the Roman days, has been a work. Mm-hmm. You know why? Gambling. Mm-hmm. So if you can get in a guy and he's going to go out there in this gladiator den, unless his life's on the line, by the way, and they slip him a few shekels or whatever they had for money, and for him to go down, okay, and he'd do it. So gambling has ruined everything. Don't blame it on wrestlers. And hey, has it been proven in boxing?
Oh, well, I think in like the 40s, 30s and 40s, 20s and 30s maybe. I think boxing was more work than wrestling at one point. I think it was almost, boxing was dying at the time because it was just so phony and everyone was taking a dive, and probably gambling there as well was part of the reason. With Al, I want to state this, is that he said that kayfabe is a respect for your audience, is not breaking character, and it is, the wrestlers know, the fans know, but it is respect between the two to maintain your character and etc. And I want to bring up this. It's a few years ago, Bray Wyatt, probably quite famously, he was doing the alligator man, Bray Wyatt family, creepy kind of thing. And then a photo came out with him, and was it like Stephanie McMahon and Renee Paquette or something like that, where Bray's doing the whole, sort of like pouty lip kind of thing. And I remember seeing that thinking, boy, did that just like kill your aura there, boy.
Yeah, it did. I agree with Al. It is respect for your audience. I mean, if I went to the ring today, which I can't, by the way, I mean, I couldn't do nothing. But the people that bought tickets to see that, let's go back 30 years. People that bought tickets expect the best show you can give them. I don't care if there's 10 people in there or 10,000. You still give them the best show you can give them. Now, it is harder to perform a match in front of 10,000 than it is in 10 people, because 10 people are hard because they don't respond that much. But a lot of times when that audience responds, that kind of exhilarates the performers. And when they can feel that audience, and I've said this before, the temperature in the room, you got to feel that temperature. You got to know when to feed it, when to pull back from it. Like a comedian, when he gets, a line of jokes going, more stuff popping, like somebody talking, but more natural. But yeah, you got to respect those people. And I've seen some people go to the ring, and I've done it too. That when not a lot of people there, and I could be tired, or I could have been tired. A lot of people were tired. If there's not a lot of people there, you still respect the audience, but you don't quite put as much into it as if more people were there. And that's for a lot of reasons. But still, you still got to maintain, if you're a heel, if you're a baby face, or whatever gimmick you have, you got to respect that and give the audience what they've come to expect and then what they paid to see.
As has been stated many times, maybe the most successful gimmick wrestler ever is The Undertaker. And until he retired, or at least until he thought he was retiring, he never broke character publicly once. And I think there's definitely a correlation between those two, success and maintaining character in public.
Well, he was brought up that way. He started in Texas. I think he went somewhere. He went to South Africa, I think.
Did he?
That's what he told me, I think. They had a wrestling organization down there in South Africa. I don't know how long it lasted. And then he came back to Texas, I think. Then he came to Memphis, and he learned to work in Memphis, but not the Undertaker style. That was a Vince McMahon creation, and he put it on Mark, and that suited Mark perfectly, really, because Mark is a kind of he's a laid back guy. He doesn't. He's not a hellraiser. He won't go out and start a bunch of trouble. So even when WWE was in town, they may have seen him at a bar maybe an hour or two, and then he'd leave. He'd go. But he did that perfectly. And when he showed up as Undertaker, he was Undertaker. Like Randy Savage, I'll talk about him. Randy Savage started as Randy Poffo. Then he turned into Randy Savage. Then later on, he morphed into Randy Macho Man Savage. And when he was in that Macho Man Savage mode, I don't think he ever got out of it. I think he was Macho Man Savage 24 hours a day, even when he went down to the store. Now, he may have let up a little bit while he was home. I don't know. I was never there with him at his house with Miss Elizabeth. But I think whenever he went, it was, oh, yeah. He was 24 hours a day. So he taught himself, or he did the Macho Man Savage so much that he naturally ended up being that to the end. And, but the separation of staying in character, very few guys do it. Now, in the old days, a guy would be in character the whole time he's at the arena, except in the dressing room, go out, come back, even on the way to his car when the fans are around. He had to be in his character. He had to be. Because people said, he's not really like that, and then they start talking. And, if you're just dealing on, say, 2,000 people in a town that come to the matches, well, those gossiping, that will hit 1,000 of them anyway. All the kids start talking, and then they spread that. Then the older people hear it. And if they get to believing that you're not who you say you are, your respect level goes down. They may still come to the matches, but doesn't mean their respect level. And that's what you draw from a lot of times, your respect level, and knowing that when you go, you're going to get the best show you can get. I mean, that may not click automatically in the fan's head, but if you're the same guy walking in and then walking out, and then all the way to the car, that's the only way they're going to get to know you. But if you're going out in WWE now with social media and you're doing all these things like pointing at a camera and being totally out of character, and you mentioned Bray Wyatt, where is Bray Wyatt?
He's not pointing at any cameras. That's for sure.
No.
He's in witness protection.
Apparently, because I think that character now won't go. You know what? I never saw why it was going anyway. He was different. He could have been a character. And he could have been like a Undertaker character too, a little bit. But I think once they've seen one, you've seen them all, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, our next order of business is Bret Hart was turned down to be an agent in AEW. Author Brian Solomon, who I'm pretty sure got in touch with me not too long ago, or I think it was him, tweeted the following last week. When I recently interviewed Bret Hart for my book, he told me that he offered to agent for AEW, but they only wanted to bring him in as a manager like Tully, Arn, Jake, etc. Imagine having the ability to have Bret Hart coach your talent and saying, no, just be a TV character. So Bret Hart as an agent in AEW and turning him down, apparently.
Well, I don't know why they would do that, but I think just having him as an agent, he would want too much money to start off with. And I think putting him in the spot to where he could help you immediately would be, he'd be in a better position as an on-air character that would, I think, utilize or monetize his appearances in AEW. I don't know how well, good a producer he is. I wouldn't think he's that. To me, his talent was in the ring. I don't know if he can tell other guys how to do it. And from what I hear, guys in AEW don't want to listen anyway. So I think bringing in talent like Bret, who wants you to do it a certain way, might cause more dissension than he would help. So I don't think he wants to be on air anymore, maybe, but who knows? So I have no idea why they would turn him down as an agent's role, knowing that once you got him there as an agent in an agent's role, it's just a hop and a skip to get him on camera. I think that would be actually a good idea.
He could be a player coach.
He could. And I don't know why they would say no. I think there's more to this story than we're hearing. I think it might be Bret has a little opposition there. I can't imagine from who, but who knows? Tony Khan may have wanted an autograph from Bret when he was growing up and went up to him and Bret blew him off. He never forgot it. Who knows? Tony said, F him. I don't give a shit, baby. Because he doesn't sound that way, but
I think Bret's a CM Punk guy. I doubt that probably had anything to do with it. But I don't know. Maybe it did. Maybe it's like, well, if Bret loves CM Punk, he can't do it on Dynamite because that's where the EVPs are. Who knows?
I have no idea.
Speaking of the EVPs, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and Adam Page have all re-signed with AEW. Multiple years with the Bucks and Omega retaining their roles as executive vice presidents. Now, I bring this up because all four gave comments after putting pen to paper. Omega says, I've not given you the full quote here. Omega says AEW continues to let him do what he loves, and bringing wrestlers to national prominence who he feels deserves it is also a consideration. Fine answer. Adam Page says the schedule was the biggest selling point, plus he is paid well. Fine answer. Nick Jackson agrees with Adam Page's point, adding that AEW gives him the ability to spend more time with his family. Great answer. But then there's Matt Jackson's quote. And he says, we're literally the E in AEW, Matt said. The Elite are the main characters of this company. No matter how different AEW is now from its original inception, we are the DNA. and if you lose the foundation of your home, it eventually collapses. It'll be a lie if I said that didn't weigh on us when making the decision. Do you think if those 4 guys left AEW, that AEW would collapse?
Hell no. They could walk off TV today, and you know how long it would take, unless it hit the dirt sheets, you know how long it would take to know that they're gone? It'd take 3 months. I doubt if anybody said, oh, where were the Elite tonight? Where were they? That's why I watched the show. Nobody watches the show for those guys. Now, I don't know if he really believes that, or that was he thought was a cute answer. I don't know. But the best selling point is like the other guys said, Hangman Page, and pays well. So if it pays that well, they should never even have anything cross their lips like, we're getting ready to leave. To go where? That's what people don't understand. You need to leave. I used to hear tell people, you need to leave there. For what? First of all, I was advanced in my career. There was nowhere for me to go anyway. I got hired there when I was 64. Damn. How many other, I think I'm the oldest guy they've ever hired. Really. I haven't checked the records, and I've heard a lot of other guys, I'll leave, I'll quit. Go. Why don't you quit? That's like you read online, Drew McIntyre's, he's looking for somewhere else. Well, go look. The only place to look is AEW, unless you just want to go to the independents.
Or Japan.
Yeah, but Japan is never 3 to 4 months. Unless you want to go over there and stay there. I doubt if anybody wants to go and stay in Japan. That's a different culture.
And also, Japan's not doing as well at the moment anyway.
Yeah, but I don't even know how Japan pays. Or I do know Brody was making like $10 grand a week. And back 30 years ago, massive money.
Double that at least. It wouldn't have been, it would have been at least 35 because he died 35 years ago. So if we say 40 years ago, I mean that'll be $25,000-$30,000 a week in today's money.
Well, he was making a lot of money for him to, and you have to realize how hot Japan is when guys drop everything they're doing and run to Japan, because they can make more money in a week in Japan than they were making in a month or maybe 6 weeks in the States. So I don't blame him for going. But as far as the Bucks saying they are the elite of AEW, yeah, that's fine to put out on a press release. That's fine for your fans. But I don't think they wrote that. I think somebody else wrote it for them, and they advertised it.
With that being said, if you don't think it's the Bucks or Omega or Adam Page, who do you think are the 3 most important on-screen characters for AEW now? Like, almost indispensable. Who would you say?
Well, MFG, what's his name?
MJF.
MJF.
No, the MSG is what I had in my Chinese food that made me sick.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got it confused. And I guess right now, Punk and name somebody else.
I know, John Moxley, Adam Cole, Britt Baker.
Yeah, but this is my biggest complaint about AEW. And Tony Khan, if you're listening, I want you to listen to this very closely. Start telling a story that has longevity to it. Not that hard. It's really not. Take Moxley, for example, and give him an out of wrestling emergency. And he's got to attend to something, and then guys start talking behind his back and anything. And then bring it back into the wrestling field and go from there. Take any of your main characters and start telling a story to where you're getting interviews and situations outside of a wrestling arena, outside of a wrestling background, and then bring it back into wrestling. If it's a story, and one of the things that family always works in wrestling. Family. Look at the bloodline. They've been in WWE. They've been doing this for 3 years. Everybody knows the background. WWE just took that background and started using it for what it was, background. Now that explains how every one of those Samoans got there, was because of their grandfather, or Appa and Sika. And there was one more that I can't remember his name now.
Well, Rikishi's the father of the Usos and Solo.
But they go back farther than that. They go back to
I can't remember.
Ape and Sika, and they got another one. I can't remember his name now. But
I'll have to
that's family. And but the thing about you saying is somebody who's indispensable to AEW right now, I don't think anybody is indispensable. Tony Khan is. He's probably the most valued guy there because he's the one who runs it, guy that finances it. And I'll say one thing what?
He books it. He books it, man.
But he loves it. And there's no doubt about that. And he's the most undispensable one there. If you lost Tony Khan, forget it. It's over now. It's over last week. So, and Tony Khan, I think he's overrun with booking. But he may have a mind that does that. But what he doesn't do, and I can tell by watching him, is he doesn't have long-term plans. You know, he goes from sometimes week to week. Oh, what would the people like to see this week? Oh, yeah. Well, let's put this here. But if you took your time with it, that would be a hell of a damn pay-per-view drawing card. You make the people pay to see it, but he'll throw it on free TV. Now, it may have been to his advantage at that point to put it on free TV, but I think he's past that point now. And the question, going back to the question you asked me, who's the most indispensable ones? Tony Khan to be one, and CM Punk, and who else did I say? And somebody else. MJF. And even Sting is indispensable. If you didn't see Sting forever, from here on out, nobody would miss Sting. Nobody would miss him. So I think seeing him now is kind of a disappointment because you're seeing him now in the after stages. He doesn't do anything. He misses tables. You see that?
Yeah.
You know why he missed a table?
Were they holding the ladder the wrong way, like on the far side instead of the near side?
You got to hold it on the close side because when he pushes off, he's going to kick the ladder back. So that's why they were both holding the back side. Oh, the girl was in the middle. She wasn't even doing too much for it, but she was doing more on the back than the guy on the backside was. And he missed it. And it's a damn wonder he didn't really get hurt worse.
Did you, I think he headbutted, who was on the table? I can't even remember who was on the table, but he headbutted the guy's knee.
Yeah.
He just went mouth first straight into his knee.
Well, in defense of the guy on the table, the guy raised his knee because you're going to raise your knee and the top of your body when a guy's coming down. You think he's coming down in the middle. But he's not. And when you raise your knee to absorb the impact, your knee was up, and that's what he hit.
I'm looking at all the news we've got now. We haven't got enough to get to all of it in the time that we have left. I can name quite a few different topics, and you tell me which ones you want to talk about. So we've got CM Punk introducing yet another belt in AEW, but it's not an official one. We've got Jim Ross's current health issues. We've got Buff Bagwell. We have a robbery at the CMLL box office. We have Matt Hardy versus Jim Cornette. We have Booker T versus Ryback. Of all those that I've mentioned, which ones would you like to talk about?
Right now,
which one?
What is Cornette saying
Matt Hardy versus Jim Cornette on Twitter. Further arguments have just been edited out for clarity. I can't read them all out. Anyway, Matt Hardy said Dark Order versus the Elite was a fantastic match. It's nice to see Dark Order earn such a well-deserved spotlight, etc., etc.
I got it. I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about.
Okay.
Just give me the top parts. Booker T versus Ryback.
Okay. Apparently Booker T and Ryback have heat with each other for one reason or another, most likely because one of the participants is Ryback, and he's a human heat magnet. Now, Ryback started saying that he wanted a Bellator-style cage match. They agreed to have a fight, and then Ryback started saying, well, actually, let's do it in like a cage match, and we'll have rules, and we'll do like 1 minute and stuff like that, and I want to get paid for it. And Booker T would be the WWE representative, even though he's 58. And, you know, it would be WWE versus Ryback, because Ryback hates WWE. Booker T, who is 58, as I've said, no, let's just fight the next time we see each other at a convention or whatever. And then Booker T added that Ryback doesn't get invited to most of these big conventions because, quote, he sucks. So Ryback wants it to be himself versus WWE, essentially.
Man, Booker T is right. Ryback sucks. He just can't get around it. He just sucks. And he thought when he was up there, he got a little push. And then his push, I could see, you could see the push go away when he went up against John. I was there. The push went away when he went up against John Cena in that interview. Cena picked him apart. I was actually embarrassed for him. I don't know if we can still get that pulled up, but I mean, Cena was brutal.
I don't remember it. Tell me what happened. What did Cena say?
Oh, I forgot what he said, but it was not so much what he said. It was, I mean, whatever Ryback was coming back with wasn't landing at all. And Cena just dismissed him as almost like, and they were pushing him then. I don't know where I saw this, but I'm sure it was on TV because they had the cameras there. And I mean, I heard it. I don't know if it aired, but oh my God. But anyway, whether it aired or not, I could tell that WWE didn't have a lot of plans for Mr. Ryback. And a lot of guys were complaining about him and, you know, feed me more. And, you know, they were trying to make Ryback like Goldberg. Mm-hmm. And he tried to get a match with Goldberg too.
Yeah, that was recently. Yeah.
So I think Ryback at this point is trying to do anything that would get attention on him. And he's trying to convince maybe somebody to finance a fight between him. And can you imagine a fight with Ryback and Goldberg? Their work matches suck. So imagine an actual fight couldn't be any worse. Mm-hmm. It'd go about the same amount of time. You know, most fights go about less than a minute.
Yeah.
Some of them go less than that. They go about 30 seconds. And that's it. See, most of my fights didn't ever go that long. My fights really, they never timed them because I always tried to stay out of them at any cost. I did that damn de-escalation shit years ago. Man, don't feel like that. Yes, let's don't do this. Calm down. I'll be back in a minute. Anything to get out of an escalated fight is what I did. But the Ryback and the Booker T thing, it ain't going nowhere. None of Ryback stuff is going anywhere at all.
With Booker T, he's 58. Ryback is 41, I think, last time I checked. Booker T is actually, I mean, God, he was in prison for years. You know, I'm sure he's been in 100 fights. And, you know, he supposedly beat up Batista, even though... he
did beat up Batista.
Yeah, I mean, that story went around. WWE broke that story, in fact. So who do you feel, even though there's a 17-year age gap, will Ryback or win or Booker T?
I think Booker would wipe the floor with him. Booker has street knowledge. Mm-hmm. And that street knowledge kept him alive through prison, through all this stuff. And you got to hand it to the guy. He's a survivor. And his start in life wasn't that good. But he has overcome everything, and he's in the position he's in today, and I have respect for him. Don't agree with him all the time, but I don't know Ryback. I think Ryback's basically a weightlifter, and weightlifters notoriously are out of shape as far as it comes to conditioning and breathing. They blow up. I've been in a lot of rings with guys, and we were working, and after 2 minutes, they were huffing and puffing. And that's when they're dangerous, because then they get clumsy. So some of the guys, some matches I've had with some of these bodybuilders, I swear to God, once they get blown up, I've had easier street fights. I was, oh man, you were dragging them around, and I would try to have them punch me. They'd knock the shit out of me. I said, fuck this. I really like to be in a tag match. Then I'd tag my partner. Then when he tried to tag me in, I was conveniently on the floor selling something. I didn't want to get tagged back in. But, yeah, I think Booker T would wipe the mat with Mr. Goldberg.
No,
now,
right
when he hears this, he's going to come back.
Yeah. You said Goldberg, but that's easy mistake to make is Ryback.
Oh, Ryback. I'm sorry. Now, if Ryback comes at me and wants to have a match with me, shit, I'll take that match. I might be to beat him. So,
let me give you a quote he said recently. So this is I think a couple of weeks ago, and I don't even know what it's regarding. Booker T. I tried to be nice, but F you. F busted open radio apparently. F Mark Henry, who's generally like one of the nicest people in wrestling as far as I can tell. F all the effing marks. F everybody that doesn't want to have a conversation. So F everybody who doesn't want to talk to Ryback. Hang on. I don't understand the whole conversation line. It's like, what do you mean I've been talking shit about you and now you don't want to talk about it with me? I don't get it.
I don't get it either. What's he mad at Mark Henry for?
I don't know. Maybe Mark said he sucked.
Hey, seriously, the best shoots are the podcasters.
Isn't it right? You and Ric Flair, Booker T, Ryback. This is the new feuding. No one gets hurt.
We need to start an angle here and then take it to the ring. I mean, I can't now, but
well, you're going to shove me in the ring then, aren't you?
I could, but you'd beat me with mobility. You'd just run around and blow me up. Then I'd say, screw it.
Barely.
Hey, you know what I just saw the other day for the first time?
Oh.
Because when you're in a business and you hear about something, I just never went out of my way to research it. It was Bash at the Beach.
Yes.
When Hulk Hogan pinned Jeff Jarrett by Jeff just laying down. Okay, if I didn't know the story, they could have took that story. Of course, they couldn't take the story anywhere because everybody got pissed off, mad. But when I saw it, I went, it intrigued me because I thought, where in the hell is this going? Because it was that just different. And the reason it's different is because everybody was mad. But for, and Hulk Hogan, he's the biggest egomaniac ever in the business, except for Ric Flair. But Hulk was always nice to me. I didn't have that much to do with him. See, where these guys get to be egomaniacs that most of us don't see is opponents, because they got to work with him, talk to him in private. And that's when your egomania comes out. See, I never had a match with Hogan. I had a couple matches with Flair. And in defense of Flair, anything I wanted to do in a match, except for the finish, and I knew what the finish would have to be anyway. I was actually booking Florida and had him go over without a DQ or anything. Just beat me. So we did that. And then I had another match with him in Lakeland, which we did a little DQ on, and I brought a bunch of other people in. But the thing about Hulk and Ric Flair, they're so eager. You like your hair?
Yeah, so I was just doing that. You carry on.
Boy,
no one could see that. They could only see you.
Oh, they didn't see you?
No, it was just me doing it.
Oh, okay. Well, folks, I was seeing, all I saw here was this. He's pushing back.
It's like,
what were we talking about now? I got sidetracked by your hair.
Yeah, two biggest egomaniacs, Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan.
Oh, yeah. And they are. So when a guy gets that, when he's egomaniac, he's very hard to deal with, and he can't see any of the thoughts within himself, which I will throw Ryback in there too. And here's another one. See, folks, this is how conversations go on the road. I get to talking and I'll jump somewhere else. Then I'll jump somewhere. Here's another egomaniac. And you just brought his name up about being an agent. Who would that be?
Bret Hart?
Oh, my God. You know, the best there is, the best there was, and the best there'll ever be, you know, is a great phrase.
Do you know where it's from?
No.
It's from, I think it's like a Paul Newman film called The Natural. He stole it from that.
Oh, he did?
Mm-hmm.
Great phrase.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't be so bad if Bret didn't believe that. He seriously believes he's the greatest wrestler ever. That takes in a lot of mileage. Takes in a lot of generations too. And of course, when you say, if you would just ask a fan, who is the greatest? Well, you know, the greatest is who entertained you the most, or who was the best doing over the top rope, topes, or whatever they call them, or who could throw the best drop kick, or who had the best ring entrance, or that takes in a lot of territory. Or who drew the most money. But that's just opinion. But I'm not blaming anybody who thinks they're the best that ever was, because in this business is an egotistical business anyway. And unless you believe that you're the best at what you do and just doing one thing, then you shouldn't even be in the ring. You got to have that ego to actually get in the ring and compete. So, but I can say that I never had an ego about me at all, ever.
We all know who the best wrestler of all time is, though. Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog.
I would have said George Goulas.
Oh. Okay.
Who did you?
Davey Boy, come on, he's my local hero. I mean, how could he not be the best ever to me?
So is that your hero?
Probably. He was always my favourite growing up, was Davey Boy. Then Bret, then Savage.
Yeah.
And then when I started getting back into wrestling, 98, Kane. I loved Kane.
Really?
Yeah, loved him.
Good guy.
Go on.
I'm waiting on you.
Yeah, all right. Well,
wait a minute. I have to sneeze. Put me on mute.
Okay, while you sneeze and cough and all that kind of thing, I'm going to shut down this podcast. Normally we go 2 hours this. We've actually gone about 10 minutes under. So we're going to dedicate a bit of extra time to all your fan questions. Under, we're actually at 150. So
okay.
We're going to dedicate an extra 10 minutes or so to your fan questions that's coming up this Tuesday, 8 a.m. Eastern. Thank you very much for watching. Trying to think if there's anything else I need to plug. We've got books and t-shirts and stuff like that. You must have sat through the beginning of the plugs if you're going to if you got to the end of this. So yeah, we will see you Tuesday, 8 a.m. Eastern, for the second of 2 weekly episodes of Storytime with Dutch. If you want to email in a question for future episodes, is questionsfordutch@gmail.com. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and Dutch, we the people.
We the people.